So I was a Blackmagic Pocket 6K owner for over a year, and I loved the camera so much. It was incredible for the price. I shot music videos, commercials, and short films with it. But about 6 months ago, I had the funds and decided to shop for more cameras, as I do. So I was looking for something kind of in that $5,000 to $8,000 price range and went for the Komodo. And I have been very happy with the results with this camera. So this is by no means like a gear review channel, but I just want to speak on my experience with the Red Komodo and who I think the camera's for and who I think it's not for. So here we go.
Keep me safe, keep me sound. I'm like, keep me safe, keep me sound.
So I like to consider myself a director of photography or cinematographer, whatever you want to call it, and not a videographer. A videographer's main job is to kind of just capture what's already there. Like, for example, in wedding videos or really any event video especially, they're just kind of recording what's already happening there. Whereas a cinematographer's job is to create a very specific look that fits whatever story that they're trying to tell. So for me as a cinematographer, I was looking for a camera that would give me the most control over my image. Videographers will prioritize speed and efficiency when they're just shooting by themselves. So they'll have things like internal ND so that they don't have to swap those out. Autofocus, 120 frames slow-mo for wedding videos. But for me, when I was choosing a camera, those weren't like must-haves, even though they're nice to have. And I went with the Komodo because it gives me all the control I need because of its image quality and versatility. So let's talk about that crispy image quality. First, you get the same 16-bit red code raw codec that you get with all the other Red cameras, like the big boys. And 16-bit just basically means that you're capturing more color information than you would with, say, like 12-bit raw out of Blackmagic cameras. So it's gonna give you a lot more flexibility when you're color grading. I don't have any sort of scientific study proving this, but just as a Blackmagic owner, a Pocket 6K owner for over a year, I can say the very first shoot that I shot and graded with the Red Komodo, I noticed a huge difference when trying to push a certain look. And it also has noticeably more dynamic range than Blackmagic cameras. This means that you can put it in more dynamic lighting situations where there are very dark things, lots of very dark things, and lots of very bright things in the frame, and the camera's gonna be able to handle that a lot better than the Pocket 6K or Ursa Mini Pro. And the last thing about the image is that this camera has what's called a global shutter. So that means that the image is all being captured at the same time, as opposed to a rolling shutter, which captures it top to bottom or bottom to top, I forget. You run the risk of getting like warping and bending in your image, especially when the camera is moving very fast. But the main reason why I like global shutter is just that when you're doing handheld movement, especially really fast handheld movement, it's gonna look a lot more natural than with a rolling shutter. So now I want to talk about the versatility of this camera. First off, it is so small. It's only 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches. It's a cube. Let me show you. I'm just gonna record with my phone. Here it is. Hi. It's so small. That's the camera body right there. I'm always surprised by how small it is when I like take off all the attachments and stuff like that. I can put it in my little low pro camera bag. So that's great for traveling because I literally don't even need to check like a Pelican case or anything. I can just break it down, put it in my camera bag, and then I'm good to go. So it's funny because when I'm doing handheld stuff, which I do a lot of that, I actually like the camera to be built out and be a little bit heavier. So I like to build mine out with a 7-inch monitor, sometimes bigger cinema lenses, and a matte box on the front. And the reason I do that is just because the heavier the camera is, the less your natural movement is gonna like create those micro jitters that you sometimes see in handheld shots. So it's just gonna end up looking more deliberate, more cool. But I do love that I have the option to make it super small, because when I wanna get in like really tight places with it, it's super easy to do that. Honestly, even when it has those accessories on it, it becomes heavier, but it's still so small. Whereas even with the Pocket 6K, because of its shape, it was like really wide. and the screen was on the back, which is how you controlled everything. So you can't like put your battery plate right up against it. You have to have rods and then put the battery plate on the rods. Whereas with the Komodo, it's like the battery just snaps right on the back there. And another nice thing is that it can fit on gimbals, which I don't really use gimbals very often, but you have that option to throw it on like a Ronin RS2 or other cheap handheld gimbals, which is really nice. Also, something that was really nice when I bought this camera, I didn't have to do a huge upgrade to my tripod or anything because it was so small, it was so light. I rocked a Davis & Sanford tripod that I got for 150 bucks, including the fluid head and everything. I got it back in 2015 and used it all the way up until literally just like a month ago. So I finally upgraded my tripod. Look at that. But it's nice to know that you can use literally a $150 tripod with this and it's just fine. So the big question is, who is this camera for and who's it not for? One thing that I did that I would highly recommend to anybody who is thinking about getting this camera is just rent it. Rent it and do some tests or do a shoot. In my case, I did a music video. I absolutely loved it when I used it, so that informed my decision. But yeah, get your hands on the camera, rent like a kit with it, you know, like cage and top handle and base plate and just little things that you need to get started with it, and give the camera a try and see if it's for you. But in my opinion, I think it really boils down to your shooting style. If you are more of a videographer type, I don't think the 16-bit RAW and extra dynamic range and things like that will really be worth it for you to give up your autofocus, internal NDs, slow-mo. You know, I feel like this camera is not super practical for the videographer type of shooter. However, if you are a cinematographer or an aspiring cinematographer who shoots commercials, music videos, narrative films, anything in that category, I think this is honestly the perfect camera for the money. I really feel like for the price, this camera has the best image out there. So, and that's the main reason why I got it. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts on the Red Komodo. Every time I shoot with this camera, I am just so impressed by it. So let me know your thoughts if you are a Red Komodo owner or somebody shopping around, or if you just want to ask questions about life, about my favorite foods. We can start that conversation. Thank you so much for watching.
Oh. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.